Welcome. So what if we thought about school improvement not just in terms of data points and processes, but as a moral and spiritual calling? In this explainer, we're going to dive into exactly that, a really unique approach to educational leadership that's grounded, from top to bottom, in a biblical framework. This video lecture has been produced using artificial intelligence with the supervision of Belhaven faculty. So with that said, let's get started by exploring the very core of this leadership framework.
Okay, so the first and most crucial point here is a fundamental shift in how we see things. We're moving beyond the idea of school improvement as just some checklist of managerial techniques. Instead, this framework reframes the whole thing as a leader's moral calling, a deep ethical responsibility that's shaped at its very core by scriptural principles.
Now, right at the heart of this calling is one single, really powerful principle: humility. And look, this isn't about being weak or lacking authority, not at all. Within this framework, humility is the absolute essential starting point for any effective, biblically informed leader. So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, it means you're intentionally putting others first. A leader who does this creates the space to truly listen, to really understand what's happening right now, and to anticipate the future needs of their entire school community. It's a posture of deep attentiveness. What I think is so powerful here is how this makes humility tangible. See, it's not just a feeling, it's a set of actual practices. Walking humbly means you are actively, intentionally seeking out those marginalized voices that so often get lost in the data. It's this humble recognition that the numbers alone don't tell the whole story. And of course, it means operating without a personal agenda, and instead focusing all that energy on helping others get ahead. And it's so important to understand that this model isn't just some philosophical preference, it is anchored directly in Scripture. These texts aren't just symbolic, they actually offer direct, practical guidance for leaders. Let's take a look at a few really key examples. This passage from Philippians is incredibly direct. Put yourself aside and help others get ahead. That's not a suggestion, right? It's establishing a core virtue of leadership. It demands an active, ongoing commitment to the well-being and advancement of others. It really is the complete opposite of a self-serving approach. Then you have Ecclesiastes, which brings in another really critical dimension: collaboration. Share the work, share the wealth. This passage powerfully illustrates that leadership is just not a solitary endeavor. It highlights that shared strength that you only find when working together and making sure the rewards of success are felt throughout the whole community. And finally, Micah 6:8 gives us the ethical bedrock for this whole thing. Do what is fair and just. Be compassionate and loyal. This verse really frames leadership around these non-negotiable commitments. Things like justice, compassion, and loyalty, they aren't optional extras. According to this framework, they are the required duties of a leader, period. All right, so we've laid the theological foundation. But the big question is, how does all this translate into the actual day-to-day work of improving a school? Let's bridge that gap now, from principle to practice. This process is where it all comes together. It starts where you'd expect, assessing what's happening now and what might be coming next. But here's where the framework really comes to life. Analyzing data isn't just about crunching numbers. It's an act of humility, where the leader is intentionally seeking out those marginalized voices we talked about. And then finally, every single action is guided by that powerful mandate from Micah to act with justice, compassion, and loyal love. So when you put all these pieces together, what emerges is a really complete ethical framework for school improvement. It's a cohesive model where humility isn't just some abstract virtue, but a practical tool. And the scriptural mandates aren't just lofty ideals, they become direct guides for action. Together, they shape every single decision a leader makes. So I'll leave you with a question to reflect on. How does this biblical framework really challenge a purely technical or data-driven approach to school improvement? It forces us to ask if the numbers are truly telling the whole story. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, the true measure of a school's success and a leader's effectiveness lies not just in the data, but in its moral and ethical commitment.